Okay, so then in your book they go through how to do a trend line and creating a chart with a trend line. And that's good. I want you to go ahead and do that little section, but I'm going to switch over to page 381 to do goal seek, because I think goal seek and solver are two things that I definitely want you to understand on how to do in your chapter. I think those are just the most confusing for students, and the rest I think you can definitely do on your own. But the goal seek and the solver is usually where students get a little confused. So we're back here and we're going to go ahead and use goal seek. What that does is allows us to make a determination. We want to make so much money, let's say, and so what are we going to have to do that? In other words, if we wanted to make $1 million selling now or never frames, how much are we going to have to sell to make that happen? So it's a goal seek. So on our scenarios tab that we just changed here, we're going to click and sell G15. Let's say we're working on sunshine frames here. Sunshine. Okay, come on up to the data tab, make sure you're on the data tab, and then go to the make sure we're on the current prices scenario. So if you haven't shown that, that's what we're on. All right, and then on this, we're going to go ahead and close it just to make sure we're in the right spot. But let's click on the what if analysis again, and this time let's go to goal seek. Now the goal seek dialog box opens up, and it's going to say in the set cell box we're going to put in G15. Okay, now to what value do we want this to be? We want to change this to $1 million. So remember, that's a 1 and 6 zeros. By changing what cell do we want to change? And what we want to change here is E23. So that's the cost of the frame only. So down here in the changing cell frame, we're going to click on E23. Go ahead and click OK. Now you'll notice after you've done that, the total for the sunshine frame turns to $1 million, but you'll notice one thing: the cost of the frame has gone up to $169.49. That's the cost that you're going to have to give to the customers if you want to make $1 million on that frame. So that's goal seek. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click cancel because I don't want that to actually happen. All right, now let's try it again using goal seek to determine units sold. So let's do the same thing. We're going to come up here, click on goal seek. Okay, we're going to, right now it says G15. We're going to do the same thing. We want it to go to $1 million. All right, and by changing what cell, this time we're going to say G7. Okay, now this is going to be a very interesting thing. Usually we'll probably get an error here, and I'm going to let you know why. Because it's a sum formula in that cell. Notice up here at the top it's a sum formula. How can you change the sum? You really can't. So that's not going to work. If we clicked on the G7 to say I want to increase sales, what would my sales have to be to get 1 million? How many units do I have to sell? You can't put it on the total cells. So the problem here is what we want to do is we want to come in here and choose C7 through F7. Okay, C7 through F7. Okay, then it's going to give us an error again because those are all our units that we want, right? That's all the units. But if we click OK here, it's going to say no, you have to have a single cell. All right, now one of the problems here is that we could click on just E7 and say OK, right? But look at this. This would be unrealistic, wouldn't it? If we just used the one cell, we would say 1200, 1300, and all of a sudden, out of a miracle in Q3, we were able to sell 3,830 frames and then go back to 1,800. That's what we would have to do to be able to sell enough to be able to make 1 million. it seems rather unrealistic. One of the things that we could do though is take whatever we had made and then divide it up amongst the quarters, and that would give us an idea. So one of the problems here, because we're usually GoalSeek only uses one cell to base that idea on, it's not going to be okay for this scenario. So we can use what's called Solver, and Solver solves this problem of being able to use problems that are a little more complex than the GoalSeek. So here I'm going to click cancel, and we're going to have to put in a little bit more information to use Solver. So let's make sure we're on cell G15, and then in the data tab we're going to click on the what if analysis, or I'm sorry, you'll notice that we don't have anything called Solver in here. This is very important. We have to go to a specific place to get the Solver button. So what we're going to do is we have to go over to the File tab, come on down to Options. All right. Make sure that you click on the add-ins right here. And then do you see this one where it says Solver add-in? Click on that. Click on the Solver button, sorry. Then make sure you click this check mark box and then click OK. What you'll notice is that now you have a Solver button in an analysis area on your lesson sheet. Very important. The steps on how to do this are on page 384. This is where students really get hung up because they always go, where is my Solver button? But they don't see this on the left hand side. So make sure you see that. It takes you right through on how to do that. All right. So now that we have the Solver button, make sure you're clicked on cell G15. Click in the data tab on the Solver button. All right, so G15 is shown, and in the area where it says 2, we want to make sure that we put value of, and in this box we're going to put 1 million. All right, and it's going to say by changing cells, and so what we want to do is click in this box, and we're going to select this time C7 through F7. Okay, C7 through F7. All right. Now, once we have those in, these are going to be the ones that are going to actually affect this. Go ahead, come on down to the bottom, and click Solve. Now, this is a scenario. This does a scenario. This basically says you are going to have to sell 1,500, 1,700, 2,000, and 2,000. So they increased and gave you a way to increase your sales so that you make at least 1 million in sales. Now, what we can do, because this is a scenario, it's not something that we want to do, we're going to want to click on Save Scenario, and this scenario is going to be Solver 1. All right, and then click OK. And then click on Restore Your Original Values and then say OK. Because we kept that, but now we want to do a few other things. So what if we wanted to do another scenario for this? So with that same cell, G15 selected, let's click on our Solver button. OK. In the 2 to 1 million, that's good. We're going to verify by changing cells C7 through F7. That's what we want. Now, in the subject to constraints area, in that area, we're going to click on Add. So let's add some new constraints. Okay, and we're going to take our insertion point and we're going to put it in this cell reference box, and we're going to put in C7. Okay, C7 in there, and then we're going to say greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And then we're going to put in a constraint of 1,300. So in other words, what we're saying in C7, we want it to be greater than or equal to 1,300. So saying we don't want it to go up, but we definitely think that we're going to be able to sell greater than 1,300 that first time. And go ahead and click add. Okay, now you'll notice that that was one little constraint in there. Let's go ahead and click on add. Oops, careful, sorry. Let's go ahead and put in D7 for this one, and then we're going to do greater than or equal to, oops, I don't want that again. D7 greater than or equal to, and this time 1,400. All right, and then click add, and then we're going to say E7 greater than or equal to, and this time we're going to put in 1,700, add, and then for F7 should be greater than or equal to 1,850, and then we'll click add again. Okay, let's go ahead and click OK. Oops, and so then I'll say cancel. So we've got our 4 different constraints that we have in there. Let's go ahead and click on solve. All right, now let's look up above. Now we've got 1603, 1756, 2239, 252. So just a little bit different, just to make the same amount. We're still making over $1 million. Let's go ahead and save that scenario as solver 2 and OK. Let's go back to restoring our original values and then click OK. Okay, so let's go ahead, once we've got all of our values in, because we saved these as scenarios, guess what? Now we can go to that summary and give ourselves a summary of what would happen. So now we've got 2 new scenarios in here. Let's click on the summary and say our result cells are going to be C15 through G15. Result cells C15 through G15. Click OK. Okay. So what they are saying is, let's go ahead and hide D through G, just so we don't have to see these. And then they also ask us to hide rows 6 through 10, because this doesn't really matter. And so then they have us click on cell C11, and in there we're going to type in quarter, because it says C, we don't really know what that means. Oops. All of a sudden my stuff isn't responding. Okay, well basically what they want you to do is put in quarter 1 and then fill down to quarter 4, and then copy that again from C16 to C19, and then put in your total in C20. And what that does is it gives us an analysis. So it gives us a new scenario with an analysis with the solver in it, so we can see what we need to do with our 2 different scenarios for the sunshine sales analysis. Okay, that really kind of covers what we really needed to know, even though I've locked up here, what we really needed to know while doing this chapter. This is the area that students have the most problems with. So if you need to go back and watch what I did again, and maybe slow it down a little bit or watch it a few times, because I did go through it fast, knowing that you can go back and watch it again. So the first one is a what if analysis. What if we changed our prices and then we give some higher prices? What if we changed the prices to being lower? What if, and then make a scenario with a summary of what would happen if we did that. Then let's change the scenario again and do a goal seek where we say, okay, I need to make this much Now GoalSeek is really good, but it's limited. It's limited to one cell. The last one is Solver. Remember that you have to go and do that add-in area to make that Solver button show up. And then from the Solver button, make sure that you can make different scenarios, but then make sure you come back to your current scenario. So save your scenarios and come back to your current scenario. But what you can do there is, number one, you can do a GoalSeek with more different kinds of more information. And then also, you can also put in your scenario. You can have constraints within it, so you can get a much more detailed kind of scenario or analysis of that data, and then make some decisions based upon that. Like, okay, we've had 1 year, what are we going to do next year? So these tools that we're using right here in this what if analysis are very powerful tools that can help businesses make decisions in the future.